of you and welcome to Unacademy. Welcome to the session for Places in News, where today in our part of the series of Conquer Prelims, we shall be covering important areas which have remained in news headlines for the past year and a half. But before we initiate the discussion, a humble apology and gratitude for all of you for maintaining your patience. There were certain technical issues which have now been sorted out. So now we shall concentrate purely on the topics, and in this particular session, this is going to be a kind of a follow-up to the past 4 sessions that we have been conducting for the portion of environment ecology. So in the past 4 sessions, as you would have attended them, we have covered the important protected areas in news, be it the Ramsar sites, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves. Then we had a separate session where we studied about the various different species which have been in news. The important species, their IUCN status, where they are found, their important habitats, and then we moved ahead to discuss about the climatic conventions and the other topics as well. So use that as a kind of a supplement to understand those particular areas in news, so that today you can concentrate completely on the portions relevant for geography and in the international area of map pointing as well. That is, and those are the topics that we are going to discuss today in greater depth. Now, before we initiate the discussion, a couple of announcements. First of all, the first announcement regarding the launch of Geography Optional. Geography Optional as a separate course in English medium is going to be launched for the first time on Unacademy platform from the month of June, where in a span of a duration of around 5 months, we are going to have an overall comprehensive view of the portion of Geography Optional, and including answer writing, one-to-one evaluation and one-to-one mentorship. This is going to be one of those areas which will help you score significantly when it comes to the mains exam. Now, but before that, you need to clear the prelims, and for that, we have come up with Unacademy All India Prelims mock test, where these mock tests shall be held in the simulation of the prelims examination. The question patterns are going to be similar. So do attend this test on 26th of May and do attend the live discussion on 27th of May from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now, without further ado, let us directly jump into the questions and the discussion of the questions. The first question. Consider the following straits and the water bodies that are connected by them. So, we do know that what do we mean by straits? Straits are basically the water bodies which end up separating 2 land masses and connecting 2 larger water bodies. So here, which are the straits? And in the second column, you find the water bodies that are connected by them. So here you find Luzon Strait, Philippine Sea and South China Sea, Bosphorus Strait, Sea of Marmara and the Aegean Sea, Strait of Tartary, Sea of Japan and South China Sea, and Strait of Johor, that is Strait of Malacca and South China Sea. So let us see which of them or how many of them are correctly matched. So think about it carefully and let me know. Let's see which is the answer, which is most prominent. So here, if we take a look at it, basically each one of them, if you notice, then here, when we talk about Luzon Strait, where is Luzon Strait? So let's see how many of you have given the correct answer here. So when we talk about Luzon Strait connects Philippine Sea and South China Sea. That is correct. So Luzon Strait is present in the region around Taiwan. Why it has been in news? It has been in news because of the freedom of navigation exercises being carried out by US and the forces of the Asia Pacific, and that is a kind of a pushback which is induced against Chinese hegemony which is being induced in that area. So that is correctly matched. Then Bosphorus Strait, Sea of Marmara and Aegean Sea. So in the case of Bosphorus Strait, what two water bodies does it connect? So Bosphorus Strait, basically if you take a look at it, connects the Black Sea along with the Sea of Marmara. I'll show you the map as well. So this is incorrectly matched. So here you have the Luzon Strait. Observe here. Luzon Strait separates which two land masses? So it separates the region of Taiwan with the Philippines. Okay, so it is in between that area where you have the presence of Luzon Strait. It connects South China Sea with the Philippine Sea. When we talk about Bosphorus Strait provides that channel of connectivity between Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara, and not the Sea of Marmara and Aegean Sea. That is where you have the Dardanelles Strait, which was a site significantly important during the time of World War I as well. Since that point of time, Dardanelles Strait has been very important. This has been in news ever since the Russia-Ukraine war has come to the fore. Then when we talk about Strait of Tartary, where is it present and which water bodies does it connect? The Strait of Tartary connects the Sea of Japan with the Sea of Okhotsk. Okay, that is the connecting portion. So rather than Sea of Japan and South China Sea, it ends up connecting Sea of Japan with the Sea of Okhotsk. Basically, this Strait of Tartary separates the Russian mainland from the area of Japan. And that is why it is very relevant, because there have been tensions brewing up between Japan and Russia. So that also makes it very important. And then you have Strait of Johor. Strait of Johor is present where? Strait of Johor is present in the region of Singapore, and it ends up connecting Strait of Malacca on its west and the South China Sea on the east. If you observe this, this is where you have the Johor Strait. It is in fact the Johor Strait which separates the Malayan Peninsula from the region of Singapore. The entire Malayan Peninsula that you see, the region of Malaysia, is separated from Singapore by that Johor Strait. In fact, from this area, UPSC has already asked a question, and that is about the Isthmus of Kra. This is the region which is also referred to as the Isthmus of Kra. Okay. So here you have to accumulate the surrounding areas information as well. Okay, so that is basically the case of these particular mappings. So Strait of Johor, it is correctly matched. It is present in the region of Singapore. Okay, why it is relevant? It is a choke point. There is significant amount of supply chain logistical delays caused because of this, and that choke point influences the trade which happens from the region of Indian Ocean to the region of the Pacific Ocean. So how many of them are correctly matched? So the correct answer is going to be B, that is 2 only. Okay, I hope that you have got it correct. Yes, majority of you have got it correct. Very good. Now we move on to the second question. Bab al-Mandab, again a very important area when it comes to the relevance in news stories. So Bab al-Mandab connects which two water bodies? Okay, so Red Sea and the Arabian Sea, Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean, Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, and Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. So here, Bab al-Mandab, why it has been in news? Owing to and ever since the crisis between Israel and Palestine when it broke out, ever since that point of time, there has been significant amount of Houthi attacks which have been carried out in the merchant trade routes. So this is where you will find the presence of Bab al-Mandab. On one side you have the Red Sea, on the other side you have the Gulf of Aden. The easiest mistake that you can do here is thinking that it connects the Red Sea with the Arabian Sea, but that is not the case. So here, majority of the merchant vessels which move through this route, it is in this narrow strait where they are prone and they are subjected to various different rocket attacks, missile attacks, and so on. So that is the portion of Bab al-Mandab. So the correct answer in this case is going to be Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden. Now here, ideally, you should also be taking a look at the surrounding countries thereby, and we shall be doing that with the help of the following questions. With the help of those questions, we shall be addressing all of those. Understand, this area is also in news. The entire region is also in news. Other than these merchant vessel attacks, there is also the case of the Chabahar port signing. Okay, here you have the Chabahar port. What is the name of the port at Chabahar which has been signed as a long-term deal with India? The name of the port is important. So here the name is Shahid Beheshti Port. Okay, Beheshti Port. Now, which is it the most busiest port in the region? No, the busiest port in the region is Bandar Abbas Port that you will see, and it is right at the mouth of Strait of Hormuz. So regarding Chabahar, you can expect a question that Chabahar port opens to which part of the water body? So Chabahar opens up to Gulf of Oman, not Arabian Sea, Gulf of Oman, and it is a deep water port. So what is that deep water port? So when we talk about port cities, you have to understand, and the ports under normal conditions. So if the land is, let's suppose, very shallow in the water body, larger ships cannot come closer to the shore because there is always a fear of running aground. So that is why when we talk about the larger ships, for example, they require a deeper water present near the coastline that will allow them to come closer to the coastline. So that is why deep water ports are always important in order to carry out bulk trade, in order to ensure that the trade route remains operational. Okay, now moving on to the next question. Arrange these water bodies from north to south in order of their location. Laptev Sea, Gulf of Carpentaria, Banda Sea, and Ionian Sea. Arrange them in an order of north to south. Now all these are marginal seas. So there is a difference between an ocean and the marginal seas. And what is that difference? The difference being that when we talk about the marginal seas, they largely represent the continental shelf area in that region, and they are bordered by the land regions, bordered by the continental area. So for example, when we talk about the Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, they are considered to be the marginal seas of the Indian Ocean. For example, when you consider the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico, Bay of Fundy, they are considered to be the marginal seas. So these all seas are also referred to as the marginal seas, and they are also significantly in news. Why? I'll tell you that. So first of all, which is the northernmost of all of them? The northernmost is the Laptev Sea. Where is it present? Laptev Sea is present to the north of the Russian subcontinent in the region of Arctic. Why it has been in news? Because for the past couple of years, it has been observed that here the formation of sea ice is not happening. Okay, so that is why. No formation of sea ice. Okay, there is no formation of sea ice which is happening. So that also makes it very, very relevant overall. So that is the Laptev Sea. So here you have the presence of warm ocean currents in the form of the Norwegian current, which further moves north. To its left or to its west, you will find the presence of Kara Sea, again a marginal sea in that area. Then after that, you have the Ionian Sea. Where is Ionian Sea present? Ionian Sea is present in the eastward margins of the Mediterranean. If you observe the region of the Ionian Sea, this is where the Ionian Sea is present. So Ionian Sea along with the Aegean Sea, these are considered to be the remnants of the ancient landmass of the ancient water body of Tethys Sea. If you recall the portion of continental drift theory, you would have studied about the formation of Himalayas, Now, in the formation of Himalayas, what do we study? That there was a Tethys Sea which got closed and there was an upfolding which happened which created these Himalayas. So that is why the Tethys Sea, while it disappeared to the north of the Indian subcontinent, but in these areas, this is the last remaining portion which is referred to as the remnant of the older Tethys Sea. Having said that, these seas are also very close to basically getting closed up as the African plate is pushing northwards into the region of Europe. Then here, in the region of the Indonesian archipelago, that is where you have the Banda Sea. And it is here that you will find the Gulf of Carpentaria. Gulf of Carpentaria is famous for having a very large continental shelf. So this is where you have the Gulf of Carpentaria. Banda Sea, why it is in news? Because Banda Sea, due to global warming, due to climate change, and here as you would observe, there is not much scope for a circulation happening. So Banda Sea oftentimes tends to heat up. Now this is a region which is very much in the path of the coral triangle. So when it gets heated up, that is where a mass coral bleaching can be induced. That is why it has remained in news. And this is the Gulf of Carpentaria, to the west of the Great Barrier Reef region. So you have 1, 4, 3 and 2. So B is going to be the correct answer. Good. Majority of you have given the correct answer. Very good. So here, after this, we move on to the next question. Now, a river basin in India which has been in news due to frequent landslides in the area and occurrence of floods in the region. So here, consider the following statements about river Barak. Its drainage basin passes through the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura and Arunachal Pradesh. It joins river Brahmaputra at Dhubri in Assam, increasing the flow in Bangladesh, causing seasonal floods. Silchar is an important town on the banks of the river. How many of the above statements is or are correct? So all the super smart ones who are basically writing it in comment, put it in the polls that we are launching, and then after that you can have the brightness induced here. Pangong Tso is not the remnant of Tethys, Idris. Pangong Tso is a saline water body which is created at high altitude because of higher rate of evaporation. So Pangong Tso is not a remnant of Tethys. So how many of the above statements are correct here? First statement, its drainage basin passes through the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura and Arunachal Pradesh. This is incorrect. Why? Other than Arunachal Pradesh, you will find the drainage basin to be moving through and existent in all the areas. Then, it joins river Brahmaputra at Dhubri in Assam, increasing the flow in Bangladesh. If you observe river Barak, this is the drainage of river Barak. It is on this river Barak where you also have a very important water storage structure and a multi-purpose project, that is the Tapaimukh Dam, which again, whenever it comes to India-Bangladesh relations, there are two such rivers which are always in news. One is river Tista, the other is this Tapaimukh Dam, because there have been increased protests which have been going on in the region of Bangladesh that this Tapaimukh Dam is going to reduce the flow of water. Now this Barak river, eventually you will observe, it exits India from here itself. It doesn't enter into the westward portion of Assam, and eventually in the final stretches is where the water with river Brahmaputra is merged. So this is incorrect. It does not join river Brahmaputra at Dhubri in Assam. Then Silchar is an important town on the banks of the river. Here, this is the correct answer. So rivers and important towns on the banks. Not all the rivers and all the towns you cannot possibly remember. Those rivers which are important, which have been mentioned in news, that is something that you can mention. So here, how many of the statements is or are correct? The correct answer is A, that is only one. Good. 19% of you have given the correct answer, but I hope it is understood. Now, about the mountain passes. Again, there is a lot of fear, lot of trepidation about these mountain passes also, that which kind of mountain passes can be asked. So arrange these mountain passes in India moving from north to south. Aghil Pass, Zojila, Burzil Pass, Umlingla and Shipkila. So arrange them moving from north to south. Tributaries are difficult to remember, agreed, but tributary basically is not all the rivers and not all the tributaries are important for you to learn, just those which are present in the news stories. And Barak joins Manas, no. So here, if you take a look at it, where they are located, basically you will observe, first of all, the northernmost is going to be the Aghil Pass. So here, this is going to be the northernmost out there. Then you will have the Burzil Pass, right? Then you will have Burzil. Then after that, Zojila. Then Umlingla. And eventually Shipkila. Okay, so the correct answer in this case is going to be 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. So now let us take a look at their location. So this is the Aghil Pass. This is present in the region of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. That is where you have the Aghil Pass. Now here, this is amongst the northernmost passes that we have. And here you have the Karakoram Pass, which is further to the east of it. It is the Karakoram Pass through which you have the highway which passes through, which connects the Xinjiang region in China to the region of Gilgit-Baltistan, and eventually that is the route of the China-Pakistan economic corridor as well. Here you have the Burzil Pass and the Zojila. Zojila has been in news. Why? Because first of all, it is going to provide an all-weather connectivity from the region of Srinagar to the region of Leh and Ladakh. So that is where Zojila is, and Zojila tunnel is being constructed. Then here you have the Pir Panjal Pass. Pir Panjal Pass, again, an area which has gone into the portion of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, is not used anymore, but earlier it would provide the easiest motorable way between the region of Jammu and the region of Srinagar. So that is what the Pir Panjal Pass is, again not being used. Then you have the Banihal Pass. Banihal Pass is important. It provides connectivity between the region of Jammu and Srinagar, and it is here that you have the famous Banihal tunnel, the Chabahar tunnel, and that provides an all-weather connectivity. It is here that you will find the Umlingla Pass. Umlingla. Now, this is also a point of confrontation when it comes to the People's Liberation Army of China and when it comes to the Indian Army. This has been a point of conflict in that area. There have been previous attempts made by the Chinese forces in order to carry out incursion. Then you have the Shipkila. Shipkila is present in Himachal Pradesh, and Shipkila is important because from here you have a very important river which enters into India. So here, can we guess? Very good. Very good. It is basically river Satluj which enters India through the Shipkila Pass, and that basically makes Satluj an antecedent river. Satluj, which originates very close to the Lake Mansarovar in the Kailash ranges, drains westwards and enters India through the Shipkila Pass. Shipkila Pass has always been important, of historical significance, because it is through this route of Shipkila Pass where historical trade would be carried out between the region of India and Tibet. So there is a cultural relationship as well, trade relationship as well, people to people connect, and also the life giver in the form of river Satluj. Then here, again, some of the important passes that you will find is Nitila, Manala, Trelisla, all of them present in Uttarakhand. And there is the Lipu Lake Pass. Lipu Lake Pass is present at a tri-junction. Tri-junction of what? It is present at the tri-junction of India, Nepal and China or Tibet. Right? So that is where you have the Lipu Lake Pass, which was also in significant controversy. Okay? So I hope this is understood, and this question is also something that you would have been able to do. Now, consider the following statements about River Pennar recently in news. It originates in the region of Nandi Hills in the Chikbalapur district of Karnataka. It drains to the east and meets River Kaveri in Tamil Nadu. Bengaluru and Hosur are the important cities on the banks of the river. Which of the above statements is or are correct here? River Pennar was significantly in news recently because of very difficult water crisis which prevailed in the entirety of the region of Tamil Nadu, in the entirety of the Kaveri River Basin stretch as well. So it originates in the region of Nandi Hills in the Chikbalapur district of Karnataka. That is correct. It is basically in the outskirts of the region of Bangalore, in the metropolis of Bangalore to the outskirts of it. That is where you have this river which originates. It drains to the east and meets River Kaveri in Tamil Nadu. This is incorrect. Why is it incorrect? Because River Pennar doesn't meet with River Kaveri. It directly drains into the Bay of Bengal. It is not a tributary of River Kaveri. Amongst the important tributaries of River Kaveri, you can take a look, for example, of Kabini, Bhavani. These are the important tributaries that you associate with River Kaveri. Pennar is not one of them. Then Bangalore and Hosur are important cities on the banks of the river. This is going to be correct. So here, which of the above statements is or are correct? The correct answer is going to be C. That is 1 and 3 only. Okay, so that is going to be the correct answer. Now, why was it in news? This was in news because of the water crisis in Bangalore. Okay, because of the water crisis in Bangalore. It is basically the region of Bangalore had not received rainfall this year for a duration of 5 months. And it is in these conditions where the rivers, River Kaveri, then when you talk about River Pennar, they end up providing the drinking water in the vicinity. But because there was no rainfall, there was no significant surface water in the catchment area which could increase their water level, and hence the entirety of the river region actually started experiencing a shrinkage. Now, it is in this river where you will find across the end stretches the deposit of certain sandstones also. That is what is also a very significant feature of River Pennar. Okay? Now, then after that, we come to a freshwater lake. Consider the following statements about Lake Titicaca. It is surrounded by the countries of Peru and Chile. It lies in a geographical region known as the Great Basin. It is the largest freshwater lake in the world in terms of volume of water which is available. How many of the above statements is or are correct here? Take a look at it carefully. How many of them is or are correct? So, if you take a look at this statement, the first one, it is surrounded by the countries of Peru and Chile. Is that correct? No. It is not correct. Because if you take a look at Lake Titicaca, this is where Lake Titicaca is present. Why it was in news? Because this is also drying up, and in the local area there has been substantial amount of loss of income, loss of revenue which has been created in that area. The fishermen folk and in general the other activities, tourism activities which could be carried out. So all the boats are running on the flat ground, and the entire lake has turned dry in many of the stretches. So economic loss is absolutely substantial. So it is between Peru and Bolivia. First statement is incorrect. It lies in a geographical region known as the Great Basin. Where is Great Basin? Great Basin is present in North America. It is present across the region of the area of Rockies. That is where you have the presence of Great Basin. So this is also incorrect. It is the largest freshwater lake in the world in terms of volume of water. That is also incorrect. Why? Because here when we talk about the largest freshwater lake in the world, it is Lake Baikal. Lake Baikal, in terms of the amount of water, has got the largest amount of fresh water which is carried here. Now it is not present in the region of the Great Basin. So which geographical area is the one where you will find the presence of Lake Titicaca? In that area of South America, which is minerally very rich, by the way. These are the older areas where you will have a mixture of volcanic landforms also. At the same time, you have significant amount of folding also which is created. So due to a combination of these factors, here you will find the presence of altiplano. Altiplano. So here, at this high elevation, this is very rich in minerals. Okay. And this is where you will also find some substantial amount of rare earth elements such as lithium, and the lithium reserves in fact extend furthermore. And here you would have heard about the famous lithium triangle. So lithium triangle also always in news. So lithium triangle consists of which countries? It consists of the ABC countries. That is Argentina, then Bolivia and Chile. Here you will also find substantial amount of copper and cobalt reserves which are present. So how many of the above statements are correct? The correct answer here is D. I see many of you marking it now. So nonetheless, 14% of you have given the correct answer. Altiplano, it is not altiplana, it is basically altiplano. Altiplano is a high elevation plateau-like portion which is present as the South American plate was moving westwards. It is there that you had the formation of the fold mountains in the form of Andes. At the same time, volcanic eruptions happened. So the entire landform in itself was not only upraised, but it had traces of volcanic eruption, active volcanism as well in this entire area, which made this region very, very rich in terms of mineral deposits. Subsequent erosions have also happened. Now it is across this Lake Titicaca where the evidence of civilization has been found dating back thousands of years, which tells you that this region has always been resourceful. Okay? Yes, around the Mato Grosso. Good. Now, then another river in use. It is an antecedent river which drains through the state of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. It gets its water from the famous two streams of Tibet. It is considered to be the largest tributary of river Brahmaputra. Which of the following rivers are mentioned in the above passage? Lohit, Manas, Sankosh and Subansiri. Which of these are basically the rivers which are described here? Yes, it is. Titicaca is the largest freshwater lake in South America itself. Okay. Regarding geography optional, it will be launched from the month of June. You can find that detail in the dashboard also, and you can get in touch with us. You will get all the detail. So here, why this river was in news? This is the river Subansiri that we are talking about. Subansiri, just like the case of river Barak that we talked about, Subansiri is also in news because there has been subsequent and frequent landslides. There has been drying of the river also. Now there has been construction of multi-purpose river valley projects which is being carried out in the lower Subansiri, due to which the water has been diverted and the water flow has been stopped. Now what that basically means is that the local population, particularly in the entirety of the northeastern states, if you consider the local population, they would be reliant on these streams of water for the drinking water supply. Now if the river dries up, that will have a cascading impact also. Now the environmentalists have raised a question here, and that matter has been taken to various judicial platforms also. The environmentalists have raised a question that construction of a dam in the very volatile area of northeastern states, where the folding is very high, deformation in the rocks is substantially high, construction of a hydroelectric power project in this would impose so much of weight on the ground surface that it can lead to substantial movement in the rocks and causation of earthquakes going ahead into the future. Now if there is an earthquake induced dam breakage, now that will basically mean that the entire lower stream of Brahmaputra will get flooded, and the regions such as, for example, Guwahati, etc., that can be submerged for a temporary duration. Now the earthquake which is caused by the dams, what are they known as? What are the earthquakes caused by dam structures known as? And has India experienced such kind of an earthquake before? So such kind of an earthquake is basically known as RIS. That is reservoir-induced seismicity. Reservoir-induced seismicity. Has India observed this before? The answer is absolutely yes. India has observed it in the form of the Koyna disaster. Now Koyna River, when you talk about river Koyna, it is a tributary of which particular river? River Koyna is in itself a tributary of another major river. So it is a tributary of which river? It is basically a tributary of, very good, river Krishna. Beautiful. Okay, so only these kind of rivers such as Pennar, such as Subansiri, Barak, they are in news. So don't start learning all over again that, okay, Indus originates here, Satluj. That is something that you can revise at any point of time, but consistently harping on that fact means you can ignore the current affairs portion. That is why just observe these areas. So basically, here you have the meeting of three streams in the case of river Subansiri, which originate in the region of Tibet. And these are Sarichu, Chayalchu and Lokongchu. So these are known as the famous Chu streams. And through Miri Hills in Arunachal Pradesh is where it arrives in India after flowing through the Himalayas and meets river Brahmaputra as a right bank tributary. Brahmaputra has got other right bank tributaries as well in the form of Sankosh, Manas. These are the right bank tributaries of Brahmaputra. Manas also drains from the region of Bhutan and meets river Brahmaputra. The major left bank tributary in Brahmaputra which also causes floods is river Lohit. Okay, river Lohit is a important left bank tributary. It joins river Brahmaputra around the area of Sadia. It is around Sadia where Brahmaputra finally enters into the plains and starts broadening. It is on this meeting point, around this confluence point, where you have one of the longest bridges in India which has been built, known as the Dola Sadia Bridge. What is the other name of Dola Sadia Bridge? Let me know. So basically, this is the case of river Subansiri. Okay, so all these are tributaries of Brahmaputra. UPSC has asked you questions about the tributaries of Brahmaputra, but you have to be aware about the Subansiri project. Now, again, another river about which is in news and which is another one of the Himalayan rivers. It is a transboundary river, means exists in two countries, which originates in the Shivpuri hills of Nepal, and the famous shrine of Pashupatinath temple in Kathmandu is located on its banks. It is a part of the Ganga river system draining through the state of Bihar. Which of the following rivers are mentioned in the above passage here? Bagmati, Kosi, Mahananda and Ghagra. This was in news because of the sad event which happened last year, a mishap which happened where you had a boat capsize which killed the students which were on them. So here, B or D, the confidence. Nice. So here the correct answer is Bagmati. It is river Bagmati which drains through the major capital city of Kathmandu. And it drains through the region and enters into Bihar from northern area, drains through the districts around Muzaffarpur, Samastipur, and eventually ends up meeting with the Narayani River and in the entire Ganga River basin. This is also one of those rivers which causes significant flooding and very repeated flooding in that area. Okay, so a lot of casualties. Stream bank erosion is another one of those for which Bagmati is infamous. Now, coming to the next question. So here, how many of you had given the correct answer in the previous one? Okay, so 34% of you had given the correct answer. Okay, now the next question. Arrange the following Indian ports from north to south in terms of their location. This should be easy. You have Virenium Port, Kamrajar Port and the Cochin Port. Arrange them from north to south. So here, basically, which is going to be the northernmost port here? Northernmost port in this case is going to be the Kamrajar Port. Kamrajar Port or the Ennore Port is situated across the eastern part and it is situated slightly to the north of the region of Chennai. This is where you have the Ennore or the Kamrajar Port. It is a port which is operated under the Private Companies Act 1956 is where this port is operated and handled. It is not handled as per the Port Trust Act. So that is the Kamrajar Port. This is where you have the Kochi Port. Almost significantly to the south, you have the Tuticorin. And it is here that the Virenium Port recently has been constructed. Virenium Port, why is that important? Is because to the south of Trivandrum, this is going to be amongst the southernmost ports of India and it is a deep water port. India doesn't have that deep water port. And because of the lack of deep water port, what do you have as a situation is that larger ships, they don't come. Major ships go to Colombo Port or the Singapore Port, and from there the goods are offloaded and taken into smaller ships and then they travel to India. So that is where Virenium Port is relevant because it can bring in substantial amount of trade volume to be carried out in India, and it can be a transshipment port, it can be a port of call for India as well. Here the draft depth, there's a term that you come across in the case of port and that is the draft depth. Okay. Now what is that? It is the depth of the port, of the water exactly at the port area. Deeper it is, better it is. So here in the case of Virenium, you have the depth of close to around how much? You basically have the depth of almost 20 meter plus. something which is not present. Kamrajor port is very shallow. That is why every year for a few days Kamrajor port and for a few weeks Kamrajor port is shut down. Why? In order to carry out dredging so that the depth can be retained and maintained. So Kamrajor port is the northernmost, followed by Cochin, that is followed by Virinium. So the correct answer is going to be B. Okay? Till what time the session is going? So we will continue. We have started late. So unless and until we discuss all the important questions, we are going to have the session. So now, another area which is in news, 9-degree channel recently in news separates which two areas? Minicoy Islands and Maldives. This was in news throughout the year, right? Minicoy Islands and the Suheli Reef, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Suheli Reef and the Amindivi Islands. So 9-degree channel recently in news separates what? 100%. Okay, the confidence is scary sometimes. So basically you have, what do we mean by 9-degree channel? 9-degree channel is the water body around 9-degree latitude, right? So here when we talk about Minicoy Islands and Maldives, which majority of you have given the answer for, this is separated by what is referred to as the 8-degree channel. Okay, this is separated by the 8-degree channel. Then Andaman and Nicobar Islands, they are separated by what? They are separated by the 10-degree channel. Okay, so Minicoy and Suheli Reef, this is the correct answer here. So the correct answer in this case is going to be B here. Okay, so what is Suheli Reef? Where you have Suheli Reef? So observe this. This is the Minicoy Islands. Now see, this is also important to understand. Please do not presume that because Maldives is in news, your correct answer will involve Maldives. Okay, please don't presume that UPSC wants to know whether Maldives was in news or not. Don't go with that kind of a presumption. Okay, so Minicoy Islands, the southernmost extent of the Lakshadweep group of islands, that is separated by 8-degree channel from Maldives. Then you have the 9-degree channel, and this is the Suheli Reef, one of the larger coral reef islands which is created in the region of Andaman Nicobar. So here in the region of Lakshadweep, here you have Kavarati and the Lakadiv and the Amindivi group of islands. Many of them are so very small that they are not even significantly indicated or depicted on the map also. Okay, so that is basically these islands, right? Now, next question about the water storage structures. Which of these water storage structures are present in the Godavari River system? The Singur water storage structure, Nizam Sagar water storage structure, Nagarjun Sagar water storage structure, and the Dholeshwaram barrage. Which of these are present in the Godavari River system? So this is where, understand, it is easier to think about it if you consider that Godavari River system. Where does it originate first of all? Get an idea about that origin. Origin happens in the region of Trimbakeshwar. Trimbakeshwar in the Nashik district in Western Ghats. Okay, Nashik district in the region of Western Ghats. That is where the origin is, and then it drains to the east. Now here, many of the water storage structures you will find across the left bank tributaries, but river Godavari has got one of the important right bank tributaries, that is river Manjira. It is one of the right bank tributaries of river Godavari. Now Singur and Nizam Sagar, they are constructed across river Manjira, and Singur and Nizam Sagar, they provide much required water to the otherwise drier state of Telangana, and also utilized for water availability in the southeastern part of Maharashtra. So very, very vital for water supply in the capital city of Hyderabad. You have Nizam Sagar, which is very important. Then Nagarjun Sagar. Nagarjun Sagar is present on the Krishna river system. It is not present on the Godavari river system. So this is incorrect. And Dholeswaram Barrage. Dholeswaram Barrage, which is constructed in Andhra Pradesh way back in the 1800s itself, that is what has also been named as the Arthur Cotton Barrage. Now this Arthur Cotton, why it is important? Arthur Cotton was the individual who for the first time recommended and postulated the plan for interlinking of rivers. The interlinking of rivers that you talk about. So that was propounded by a British official in the Madras Presidency and by the name of Arthur Cotton. So this Dholeswaram Barrage is also known as the Arthur Cotton Barrage. Okay, and this is present and has been built across the Godavari river system immediately before it meets the region of Bay of Bengal. So here the correct answer is going to be 1, 2 and 4 only. Okay. So by this, why I am providing you with this linkages so that you are able to recall this. So observe here. When we talk about this, this is the map for the major water storage structures out there. Now here you will observe, for example, the Bhakra Nangal, the Tihri Dam. Tihri Dam, again in the Ganga river system, one of the high altitude dams that we have, which is also very dangerous for that matter. The breakage of that dam can lead to the flooding of the Ganga river system in a very disproportionate manner. Then you have the Bisalpur across river Banas, Kota Barrage and Rana Pratap Sagar across the Chambal river basin, then Sardar Sarovar across river Narmada. It is across this Sardar Sarovar where you have the Statue of Unity around Kevadia, which has been constructed. Then you have the Indira Sagar. Rihand Dam is again important. Rihand Dam is on which river? It is built on river Rihand. River Rihand is a tributary of river Son. It also originates across the region of the Amarkantak Plateau. Now, Son and Narmada, they are unique because they represent a radial drainage pattern. In India, that is very rare. So, radial drainage is represented by them. Okay. Then after that you have Maithan, Tilaiya. Now this is across river Damodar. Then Hirakud, which has tamed river Mahanadi. River Mahanadi was the one which was also known as the sorrow of Odisha. Just like river Kosi was referred to as has been referred to as the sorrow of Bihar, river Damodar has been referred to as the sorrow of Bengal, river Mahanadi had been referred to as the sorrow of Odisha. Then here you have the Nizam Sagar across the right bank tributary, Nagarjun Sagar, Tungabhadra. These are some of the important ones. Koyna is where you had the dam-induced earthquake, reservoir-induced earthquake, which was caused there. Okay, so you can take a look at these particular important water storage. Now these are the important tributaries of river Godavari, that is Pravara, Purna, Manjra. This is the important right bank across which Singur and Nizam Sagar have been constructed. Pen Ganga, Vardha and Vain Ganga. The water of these three rivers, they end up meeting, and then you have river Pranhita. River Pranhita eventually is the one which drains into river Godavari. Okay, Indravati, which is again coming from the area of Odisha and Chhattisgarh. Indravati is very relevant because in the otherwise forested region of the Indravati Tiger Reserve, this is one of those rivers which drains through the critical habitat area of Indravati Tiger Reserve in southern part of Chhattisgarh. And then you have the smaller ones, the Maner and Sabri. These are some of the important tributaries. Please understand. Please don't try to learn it in such a way that unless and until I recall all these 10 names, my work is not done. Even if you are able to identify that Maner is something that I have heard with Godavari, not with Brahmaputra, even that kind of distinguishing factor is more than sufficient. Okay? Now, after this, to the next question. With reference to inland navigation, consider the following. You have few of the rivers which are mentioned: St. Lawrence, Rio Grande, Mekong, Mechi and Sharda. How many of the above river systems form an international boundary? How many of the above river systems, they form an international boundary? St. Lawrence, Rio Grande, Mekong, Mechi and Sharda. So here also think about which particular international boundary will they form. Okay. So here St. Lawrence is present where? St. Lawrence is basically present, if you take a look into it, is present here between US and Canada. It drains from the area of the 5 Great Lakes, which are a combination of some of the largest freshwater systems across the planet. So the 5 Great Lakes, which also are in news because of being the sources of fresh water, that you can remember by the acronym HOMES. Okay, that is Huron, Ontario, Michigan, then you have Erie, and here you have Erie. There is a Lake Eyre as well, right? EYRE. There is a very large lake known as Lake Eyre. Where is it present? Let me know. So here you have Lake Erie, and then you have Lake Superior. So use it by the acronym HOMES. That should be sufficient here. Okay, so Lake Eyre is basically present in the region of Australia, and it is there where the monsoonal fluctuation creates a lake 5 times its size. Otherwise it creates a very drier condition. Okay, so in the region of the Murray-Darling Basin, the River Murray and River Darling are the important rivers of Australia. It is in that area. Locate that in the southern portion there. Now, when we talk about River Mekong is one of the largest rivers of South Asia. It forms a boundary between Laos and Burma or Myanmar on one side, and Laos and Thailand as well. So it does form an international boundary, right? Then after that, when we talk about Rio Grande, if you will observe, it forms a natural boundary between US and Mexico. St. Lawrence, then Rio Grande, then Mekong, these are also widely used for inland navigation. In fact, there is a much greater utilization in the case of North America when it comes to St. Lawrence and Rio Grande. So Mekong is also a kind of a international boundary river. Then you have Mechi. Mechi is a tributary of which river? Mechi is a tributary of River Mahananda. River Mahananda in itself, in India, forms a boundary between Bihar and Bengal. Now, Mechi forms a boundary between India and Nepal, right? So it forms a boundary between India and Nepal. And same is the case with River Sharda as well. So overall, D, that is the correct answer. Okay, so I hope you have marked it correct. Around 33% of you have marked this correct. Good. Now, after that, we move on to the next question. Now, this is a simple question about the portion of physiography. Consider the following statements about the Himalayan mountain system. They are widest in the west and are narrowest in the east. The snow line is higher in the region of the western Himalayas. Shivaliks are the only ranges which are continuous from west to east. How many of the above statements is or are correct here? So, and by the way guys, while you reply to this particular question, please understand that, for example, in yesterday's session of environment ecology, the marathon session, I had provided to you a detailed list of conventions, protocols and the national legislation in a kind of an order, right? In a kind of a chronological order. So please do use that. Again, I will repeat, please do use that for your revision and use that as a template which you can eventually bring to understand the development of that as well. And whatever questions that we have discussed about the species and the protected areas in news, please add on to the knowledge set that you have. Okay, we are going to come up with more of these sessions. From tomorrow we will have SNT, Science and Tech as well. If you are liking this initiative of ours, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button. And if you're liking the content, hit the like button as well. Now, they are the widest in the west and narrow in the east. This is correct when it comes to the region of Himalayas. Snow line is higher in the western Himalayas. Where is the snow line higher? Snow line is basically higher in the eastern Himalayas. Why? Because eastern Himalayas are present at a lower latitude. Latitudinal position is slightly lower. So that means that here you will have to go for a further height elevation in order to find water in the solid state. Whereas in the western Himalayas, present substantially northwards, there the snow and ice can be found at a lower elevation also. So this is incorrect. Snow line is higher in the eastern Himalayas. Shivaliks are the only ranges which are continuous from west to east. Incorrect. Shivaliks, they are basically discontinuous. Where? Overall, they are much more continuous as compared to the Himachal or the middle Himalayas. But in between regions such as river Tista and river Raidak in the east and river Kali in the west, there you will find that Shivalik ranges, they are discontinuous. So it is not a continuous range. It is across the east where you have these gaps between Tista and Raidak. So here two of the statements are incorrect, one is correct. So the correct answer is going to be A, that is one only. Okay. Now, the basic physiographic features. So arrange these physiographic features of India from west to east. Vaibhav, we don't consider the eastern Himalayas while considering the width. No, when we talk about the width of the Himalayas, Vaibhav, we consider it up till the portion of the syntaxial bend. I hope we are aware that the Himalayas take two syntaxial bends. One in the west across the peak of Nanga Parbat and one across the east where you have the Namcha Barwa. So that is the entire stretch between Nanga Parbat to the region of Namcha Barwa where you consider the width of the Himalayas. Okay. So here, arrange these physiographic features from west to east. So which is going to be the westernmost portion here? So out of all these, you will find that Mahadev Hills, they basically are the westernmost. Then you will have Kaimur Hills. Then after that, you will have the presence of Garjat Hills. Then you have the presence of the Rajmahal Hills to the east of Chota Nagpur Plateau. It is beyond the Rajmahal Hills where river Ganga suddenly takes a southward bend. It is beyond the Rajmahal Hills that you have the Malda Gap or the Rajmahal Garo Gap, which is a large gap between the plateau area which creates the plains of Bengal and Bangladesh. Then in the northeastern portion you have the Bareil range in Assam and Patkai Bum further east. So if you observe this in the portion of the map, here you will observe this is where you have the Mahadev Hills, this is where you have the Kaimur Hills. Kaimur Hills have the extension all the way into the region of the southwestern portion of Bihar as well. Now it is here that you have the Garjat Hills. Garjat Hills lie in between the very old Chota Nagpur Craton or the Chota Nagpur Plateau and the Bastar Plateau. Right, some of the oldest landforms in India in these two plateaus, they have converged to form these Garjat Hills. And then here you will find the Mikir and the Bareil ranges, and here is where you will find Patkai Bum. So that is the arrangement. Understand, here is where you have the Rajmahal Hills also. Look, so this is one of the portions where again candidates find it very difficult to understand, very difficult to comprehend. UPSC has asked you a question beforehand about this. UPSC had asked a question previously about the region of Baghelkhand, that in which state does it lie. So it is important for you to know the location of these particular central highlands part of the Peninsular Plateau. So what you can do as an easy method is one by one, take a look into it. For example, let's suppose you have taken a look that Rajmahal Hills is present there. What is present immediately to the west of it? You have Chota Nagpur Plateau, right? So Rajmahal Hills in Chota Nagpur Plateau. Then after that, what is present to the west of Chota Nagpur Plateau? Ramgarh Hills, and then to the south Garjat Hills. Again start Rajmahal, Chota Nagpur, Ramgarh, Garjat. Repeat that. Then go to the west again. You have Kaimur, Vindhya, Satpuras, and then you have Maikal range, then Mahadev, then after that comes Gavilgarh and Ajanta. So like that you can keep on repeating. It is here that you will find the continuous stretches of the Vindhya and the Satpura ranges. Both of them basically are created as a result of the process of faulting. You have the development of block mountains in these areas. Now that separates the Vindhya and Satpura range, separates the black soil region of Malwa Plateau from the other black soil region of the Deccan Traps. Okay, so like that, this is a region very important for your exam. Now coming to the next question. So here, how many of you had given the correct answer? So what is the correct answer in this case? The correct answer in this case will be 2. Then after that you will have 3. And then after that 1, 4, 5 and 6. B is the correct answer. Patkai Bum for some part does lie in the portion of Arunachal, but after that it moves southwards. Which of these river systems in India, or with respect to the river systems of India, consider the following statements. River Damodar drains through a rift valley and meets River Ganga in the state of West Bengal. Mahi is the only major Indian river which crosses the Tropic of Cancer twice. River Kosi is an antecedent river of the Ganga river system. How many of the above statements is or are incorrect? Flowchart of mountains and hills. All are correct. Okay. Saujanya, you had asked a question with regards to the species in news. That has already been provided, my dear friend. Look at the second lecture for the environment series in the Conquer Prelims. You will get about all the species along with the marathon session yesterday. You will get an idea about all the species in news. So how many of the above statements is or are incorrect? First, Damodar River drains through a rift valley and meets River Ganga in the state of West Bengal. Incorrect. Why? Here, Damodar drains through a rift valley. Is that correct? Yes. Does it meet River Ganga? No. Damodar meets which river? Very good, Manikandan. It basically meets River Hooghly. River Hooghly is what? It is a distributary of River Ganga. Okay. It is a distributary of Ganga. Right? Mahi is the only Indian river which crosses the Tropic of Cancer twice. That is correct. Mahi amongst the major rivers is the only one. River Kosi is an antecedent river of the Ganga river system. River Kosi also gets its water from 7 different streams originating in the Nepal Himalayas, what are also known as the Saptakoshi, and they carry voluminous amount of water, and during the rainy season they carry humongous amount of sediment also, because all these streams will carry these sediments, and that is why River Kosi has got some of the highest sedimentary load when it comes to the Ganga river system. This is the reason why River Kosi is very infamous and very prone to sudden shift and sudden change in its course as well. So this is known as the sorrow of Bihar. River Kosi is also in news because of the interlinking of the river which is being thought about in the area, and that is the Kosi-Mechi interlink. Kosi-Mechi interlink. Remember, we just now talked about River Mechi, which is a tributary of River Mahananda. So that is the Kosi-Mechi interlink to provide water into the otherwise drier areas of northeastern Bihar in the districts around Araria, Khagaria and all those. There you have that. So here, how many of the above is or are incorrect? The answer is A. That is 1 only. Okay? Right? Now, after this, we move on. So here you find this is the antecedent river. Antecedent means what? They have been in existence in that area before the process of folding has happened. So this is basically River Kosi. Okay. Now here you will observe this is River Damodar draining through a rift valley. Earlier was also known as the Sorrow of Bengal. Now the River Damodar and its might has been brought under control by construction of dams in the area. So you had the Maithon Dam, then you have the Patratu. So you have many of the dams which have been constructed. Maithon Dam being amongst the largest and one of the first multi-purpose river valley project being constructed in independent India. Okay. Now, then, which of these countries open up to the Red Sea? Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia and Yemen. Which of these countries open up to the Red Sea? This should be correct for most of you. For this, I don't think you need much of help, because why Red Sea? Understand this. Red Sea, Persian Gulf, Gulf of Aden and the region of Mediterranean. They are important this year. Please keep that in mind. Okay. So which of them open up to the Red Sea? If you observe, Egypt. Okay. Egypt. Then you have across the Nubian desert, Sudan, not South Sudan. Eritrea. Ethiopia doesn't open up to the Red Sea. And then you have Yemen as well, Saudi Arabia as well. Okay. These are the 5 or the major 5 countries which open up into the Red Sea. So the correct answer in this case is going to be B. That is 1, 2, 3 and 5 only. Okay. Good. Majority of you have given the correct answer. Now, again, another question associated with that. Gulf of Aqaba is present to the east of which of these water bodies? Gulf of Aqaba is present to the east of which of these water bodies? Persian Gulf, Gulf of Aden, Gulf of Suez and the Yucatan Channel. No, Somalia opens up to the Gulf of Aden. Right? So here, Gulf of Aqaba is present to the east of which of these water bodies? Where is Gulf of Aqaba present? Gulf of Aqaba is present near the Sinai Peninsula. Okay, you have 2 gulfs across the region of Sinai Peninsula. One is the Gulf of Suez, the other is Gulf of Aqaba. Right? Where do we have Gulf of Aden? Gulf of Aden we have seen Red Sea and the region of Bab al-Mandab, The Bab al-Mandab connects Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. Gulf of Suez we have just now seen. And the Yucatan Channel. Where is the Yucatan Channel present? Yucatan Channel obviously around Yucatan Peninsula. But where is Yucatan Peninsula? It is present near Gulf of Mexico. That is where you have the presence of the Yucatan Peninsula. So here the Gulf of Aqaba lies to the east of Gulf of Suez and the Yucatan Channel. So here you have B, that is 2, which are correct here. Observe, this is the region of the Gulf of Aqaba and this is the region of Gulf of Suez. Right? Many of you commit the mistakes here also. Is Africa and Asia connected by land? Yes or no? When we talk about Asia and Africa, is it connected by land? Yes or no? The answer will always be yes. It is connected by a parcel of land. And what is that land parcel? That is the Sinai Peninsula. Don't think about it that Suez Canal is the one which will separate Asia and Africa. It is an artificial water body which has been constructed. That cannot be considered to be a separating factor. Just like Isthmus of Panama connects the region of North America and South America, similarly, you have the Sinai Peninsula. This is the Sinai Peninsula. Why Sinai Peninsula has been in news is because of the fact of the recent tensions going on in the region of Israel. Okay, now it is this Sinai Peninsula which has witnessed a lot of wars earlier also. It is here that you have a desert in the form of Negev Desert. Negev Desert is also to be found in that area. Here you have the Dead Sea. Okay, now UPSC had asked a question earlier from this area about which of these countries open up to the Mediterranean. So again, because this area is relevant and in news, you can always take a look into that. That when we talk about Israel, when we talk about Lebanon, when we talk about Syria, when we talk about Turkey, these open up and these have a boundary with the region of Mediterranean. Okay, so amongst these countries, only Syria, Lebanon, then you have Israel. Okay, these are the ones which will share a boundary, and obviously Turkey. So these will share the boundary with Mediterranean. In this region, what you can also take a look into it is that you have major deserts in that area. One is the Negev Desert. Negev Desert is one of the driest areas because of lying in the high pressure zone in the region of Israel. Then you have one of the largest desert in terms of the sand. The amount of loose sand which is present, that is the Rub al-Khali Desert in Saudi Arabia. That is amongst the largest deserts in terms of volume of sand. And then you have the Dast-e-Lut, which is present in Iran. So these are the major deserts. Here, if you talk about the major rivers draining this region, you will find the ancient rivers, the cradle of civilization in the form of Tigris and Euphrates, which is draining in that area. Here you will find Lake Van. Lake Van is prominent. Why? It is in this Lake Van where you have the maximum salinity. Salinity in Lake Van is close to around 330 parts per thousand. That is the salinity level in Lake Van. Highest salinity or most saline water body in the world. Majority of us have a preconceived notion that it would be Dead Sea, but the correct answer is Lake Van here. Recently, you had the news story about the crash of the helicopter of the Iranian president. That happened across the region of Zagros. Okay, so here we have arrived at the correct answer, that is only 2, right? Now, then the Karabogaz-Gol Gulf is associated with which of the water bodies? Black Sea, Sea of Marmara, Caspian, and the Sea of Okhotsk. The Karabogaz-Gol Gulf, what is also sometimes referred to as, instead of K, you also sometimes see the mention of G. So What is this Kara-Bugaz Coal Gulf associated with? Again, it frequently enters into news stories because of the species of migratory birds in that area. So that is a big hint that I'm providing to you. So here, it is basically present in the region of Turkmenistan, and it is in the area of Caspian. If you observe this, this is where you have the Gulf of Kara-Bugaz, right? Now, why this is unique is because when we talk about Caspian, salinity levels in the upper portion or the northern portion of Caspian, the salinity levels is very low. Whereas when we come to here and in the lower portion, salinity level is substantially very high. Okay. Now, why is the salinity low here? Because you have a drainage of multiple rivers, major rivers in that area, two major rivers which drain into the region of Caspian. One is river Volga, which is amongst the largest rivers in Russia. And then you have river Ural, which originates from the Ural mountain ranges. So these are the rivers which drain into Caspian, which lower their salinity level. The salinity level increases because here you don't have any fresh water, less precipitation, and high amount of evaporation. Here a question can also be framed: which of the capital cities lie on the boundary of the Caspian? And that is basically Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. So Baku is again at the banks of Caspian. So the correct answer in this case is going to be C, that is Caspian Sea. Okay. Now, which of the following rivers drain into the region of the Black Sea? Rhine, Danube, Dnieper, Don, Volga, and Bo. Which of these rivers drain into the Black Sea? So we have just talked about Volga, haven't we? So that would have helped you significantly eliminate your options. So I hope here we get 100% correct answer. And those of you who have still marked Volga after this, kudos to you for the concentration levels. So here, if you take a look at it, basically Danube, Don, Dnieper, Dniester, and Bo, these are the ones which will drain there. So 2, 3, 4, and 6, that is going to be the correct answer here. Rhine, where does river Rhine drain into? Rhine actually drains northwards. And what is important for you to understand about river Rhine is that it also drains through a very minerally rich area. And this river Rhine is associated with inland navigation. Huge amount of inland trade and navigation is carried out, which helps the Western European countries reduce their logistics cost and make their trade much more competitive in nature. Now, Rhine is oftentimes compared with another river system in India. And which is that river system? There is a river system in India which is referred to as the Rhine of India. And that is the Damodar river system. Why? Because the Damodar also drains through a rift valley, just like the case of river Rhine, and just like the case of Rhine, which drains through the Black Forest area, which is very, very rich in minerals. Damodar also drains through the region of Jharkhand and the western portion of West Bengal, which is supremely rich in terms of mineral deposits. So the scope of industrialization that happened in Germany on the banks of the Rhine river system, something on a similar lines are expected, and the capability is there for the Damodar river system as well. So Danube, Dnieper, Don, and Bo, what is also the S-Berg or the Southern Berg, these are the ones which drain into Black Sea. So the salinity levels will be higher where? Black Sea or the Caspian Sea? Salinity levels will always be higher in the case of Caspian Sea, because in Black Sea you have greater amount of water inflow, so salinity levels will be lower. There is a net addition of water. Now, in the case of Black Sea, you can also take a look at another marginal sea here, which is the Sea of Azov. Sea of Azov. That is separated from the Black Sea by a strait. Right? So when we talk about Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, they are separated by, or they are joined with each other by a strait, which is the Kerch Strait. Beautiful. Kerch Strait. Okay, very important for the grain trade, the region of Black Sea. Now, going into slight, intricate and factual questions, which also sometimes is thrown at you by UPSC, so better be prepared for it. As per the latest State of Forest report, which of these states have indicated the maximum increase in forest cover in terms of area since 2019? Tell me in terms of area, then tell me in terms of percentage. So in terms of area, which is the state which has experienced the maximum increase in the forest cover? So State of Forest report. Now this is a particular report which is it annual in nature? No, it is biennial. It is released every 2 years. And it is released by which particular organization? It is released by Forest Survey of India. The first time this report was generated when? The first time it was generated in 1987. Okay, 17 reports till now has been generated. These are the portions that you can catch for prelims. Now, in terms of area increase, Andhra Pradesh has experienced the maximum increase in terms of area. Which is the state which has experienced the maximum increase in terms of percentage? In terms of percentage, you will find Telangana has made radical progress in terms of the forest cover. The report for 2023 has still not been released. That is why 2021 is the report from which UPSC can ask you the question. Okay, and from the 2021 report, what is it that you can extract? Which is the minimum spread of the forest in terms of very dense, moderate and open forest. So the minimum area is that of the very dense forest. From the past or the previous State of Forest report of 2019, there has been an increase in forest and tree cover close to around 1500 square kilometer. There has also been substantial increase in the bamboo vegetation and the mangrove vegetation. Bamboo has experienced the maximum percentage increase in terms of vegetation cover. Okay, so 3 states have shown an increase: Andhra Pradesh, followed by Telangana, followed by Odisha. Right? Now, the Uj multi-purpose project in news recently is being constructed on River Uj, which is a tributary of which river? So Uj is a tributary of which particular river? What is the canopy? Canopy basically, if you take a look at it, Mukesh, canopy is when you consider any tree, the green foliage of it. That is what is known as canopy. This is the canopy. It is based on the canopy cover in an area that you distinguish the density of forests. I hope we are aware about the density of forests, right? So here, the correct answer is River Ravi. So that is the correct answer in this case. Now, it is a part of the various different multi-purpose river valley projects being constructed across the Indus River systems in terms of utilizing all the water of the Indus River system. That is why, as a part of the Indus Water Treaty, India wants to utilize the 20% of the western rivers and all the water of the eastern rivers. So that is why these projects are being constructed. It is in the region of Jammu Kashmir where you will have the Uj multipurpose project which is being constructed. Now, in the Indus River Valley system, you have to understand that River Ravi is one of those rivers which forms the natural boundary between India and Pakistan. Same is the case with River Chenab, and same is the case with River Satluj. So these are the three rivers which form a boundary between India and Pakistan. River Beas is the river in that Indus River system which doesn't drain into Pakistan. That is something that you have to be aware of. Okay. Regarding landforms, you will have questions that you have to identify what forces of nature are they associated with. Those of you who want to revise geography with the help of questions, so from day after tomorrow, that is from Saturday onwards, we shall have a special class on the app for 8 days continuously for geography and environment from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Join me live on the app. We shall have 4 sessions of geography, 4 sessions of environment ecology, where again we shall be covering and revising those areas with the help of questions and understanding the important areas there. Okay, it will be a 1-hour session. Now, I was telling you about the forest cover. So if you have a doubt with regards to the classification of forest with aspect of the canopy cover, please listen to this very carefully. So forests are classified based upon the canopy density. So if in an area, if the canopy cover is greater than 70%, it is classified as a very dense forest. Okay? Yes, it will be available free, Rohit. Then if the canopy cover is basically between 70 to 40%, it is moderately dense forest. Okay? And if it is less than 40%, and higher than 10%, right, then it is open forest. In case if it is less than 10%, then it is regarded as a scrubland. Right? So that is the classification for the forest cover. Right? Now we move on to the next question, where you have a conjoined question framed from the portion of environment as well as from the portion of geography. Arrange these states or union territories in decreasing order in terms of the number of national parks that they have, with the highest number of national parks being listed first and lowest number of national parks in that state listed next and last of it. So, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Andaman Nicobar Islands. Arrange them in terms of the number of national parks that they have. So here, when we talk about it, the highest number of national parks is in Madhya Pradesh. How many national parks are present in the region of Madhya Pradesh? Madhya Pradesh in itself has around 11 national parks out there. Then comes Andaman Nicobar Islands with 9 national parks. Then comes West Bengal with around 6 of them. And then comes Chhattisgarh with 3 national parks out there. So the correct answer in this case is going to be B, that is 2, 4, 1 and 3. That is the arrangement in terms of national parks. Okay? Now, Sukapaika River, recently in news, is a distributary of which of these rivers? River Mahanadi, River Godavari, River Kaveri and River Narmada. So, Sukapaika is a distributary of which of these rivers? Why it has been in news is because the river had basically almost dried out, and various different directives had been given by NGT and as well as the various courts for the government to take quick action here. So it is basically a tributary of River Mahanadi itself. River Mahanadi, which drains and is navigable in the lower stretches of its course, that is where you have the river Sukapaika, along with multiple such other distributaries. Many of them drain into and empty their water into Chilika Lake system, and through that into the Bay of Bengal as well. Okay? Now, after that, coming to the last question. O Valley and Sigur Plateau, recently in news, is situated in which region of India? O Valley and Sigur Plateau, recently in news, is situated in which region of India? Himachal Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Ladakh. Now, why it has been in news? It has been in news because of the Supreme Court directive which had been issued. Now, both of them are situated in the Nilgiri district of Tamil Nadu, and both of them have got significant amount of encroachment construction activities which is destroying the fragile ecosystem of that particular area. That is why they are frequently mentioned into news. And this is a region where the restoration of the habitat is also important for the survivability of the civet species as well as for the survivability of the tar in the associated area. Sigur Plateau out of this also forms a kind of a connecting part between the region of eastern and the western Ghats. It lies in the larger Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Now, this being the last one, which of these volcanoes are a part of the Pacific Ring of Fire? Now, this year has also been significantly prominent in terms of the number of volcanic eruptions which have happened, and that too in the past few months. So here, which of these volcanoes are a part of the Pacific Ring of Fire? When we talk about Mount Merapi, Mount Ibu, Mount Etna and La Palma. So here, how many of the above is or are correct? So Mount Merapi and Mount Ibu present in the Indonesian region, right? So that is where you have the part of that in the region of Indonesia. So this is very much in the part of Pacific Ring of Fire. Pacific Ring of Fire is what? This is a region of very active and high geophysical activities being taken or having taken place because of the convergence of the plate boundaries here. As the plates converge and the Pacific is shrinking from all sides, there are frequent volcanic eruptions, including the region around Tonga Islands, including the region around Philippines, and that is why you also had a massive earthquake around 7 in magnitude, which was experienced in Taiwan as well. So here, that is where Merapi and Ibu are present. Etna, where is it present? Etna is present in the region of Mediterranean, right? So that is because of the convergence of the African plate moving and pushing through the region of Europe. And La Palma, where is La Palma present? La Palma basically is present in the area of Canary Islands, right? The Canary Islands. Where are Canary Islands situated? Canary Islands are situated to the west of Africa. It is after these Canary Islands that you have the naming of the cold ocean current, which is a part of the Atlantic gyre, that is the Canary Current. So La Palma has also been very active for the past few years, that is for the past 2 to 3 years, which has required substantial amount of evacuation of the tourists and also the local population there. So how many of them are correct? The correct answer in this is going to be B, that is only 2. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the discussion for today. In the entire discussion, in the entire series for around 5 days now, we have covered more than 130 questions themselves, and with the help of those questions, we have managed to cover around 150 topics about the places in news, species in news, conventions in news, topics in news, such as DL vertical migration, press mud, etc., e-soil, which can be very relevant for your exam. Just what you have to ensure from your side is that you revise this. Okay, do utilize this. Don't let it go like a kind of a game show that you attended. You observe these questions, because if a question does arise from this particular portion, there will be no excuse that you can provide. From tomorrow, we shall be continuing our SNT sessions in the portion of Conquer Prelims. Do attend that. And if you have been liking this endeavor of ours, where unfailingly for the past 1 month we have provided to you many of the topics for discussion and understanding with the help or from the topics of polity, economy, international relations, art and culture, environment, and now places in news. This is going to be a very comprehensive revision list. After that, you don't need to wander about from pillar to post in order to cover the important areas. So do provide us with your blessings. This free course, the only blessing that we require is your help in the form of the likes, share, and the subscribe button. Ensure that collectively you provide the number of likes, which is so substantial, motivates us to do something much greater in the case of the mains examination and to continue to help you in your endeavor for civil services exam. See you again day after tomorrow in the app live session on the app for the revision of the portion of physical, Indian, and the mapping portion of geography and environment ecology with the help of the questions. So join me live day after tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the app for the special courses. Tomorrow we will have SNT live on YouTube in the part of the Conquer Prelims. So that will be all from my side. I hope the sessions have been helpful. Till we meet again, do take care of yourself. Thank you, goodbye, and have a good night.